Jivanam Kaviritam Kalmashavaham Shravanamangalam Srimadatam Bhuvigrinanti Ye Bhuridayana. O Lord, your nectar-like words are praised by the wise and full of auspiciousness. They destroy the curse of evil, bring good to those who hear them, and bring new life to those who are scorched by the ills of worldly existence. Magnanimous are they who spread your message. Om Niranjanam Nityam Anantarupam Bhaktanukampa Dritavigraham Hi Ishavataram Parameshamidyam Tam Ramakrishnam Shirasa Namah. We bow in adoration to Sri Ramakrishna, who is without stain, eternal, infinite, the worshipful Supreme Lord, who took human birth out of compassion for all. So we were reading the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, which is the English translation of the Sri Ramakrishna Kathamrita. We were on page 349. We are page 351 actually. But the date is Wednesday, December 19, 1883, and we were on page 351. I just read a little bit of that portion. M is asking, isn't it, page 351, yes. Isn't it possible to develop both jnana and bhakti by the practice of spiritual discipline? The master says, through the path of bhakti, a man may attain them both. If it is necessary, God gives him the knowledge of Brahman. But a highly qualified aspirant may develop both jnana and bhakti at the same time. Such is the case with the Ishvara Kotis, Chaitanya, for example. But the case of the ordinary devotees is different. There are 5 kinds of light: light of a lamp, light of various kinds of fire, the light of the moon, light of the sun, and lastly, the combined light of the sun and the moon. Bhakti is like the light of the moon, and jnana is light of the sun. Sometimes it is seen that the sun has hardly set when the moon rises in the sky. In an incarnation of God, one sees at the same time the sun of knowledge and the moon of love. Can everyone, by mere wish, develop knowledge and love at the same time? It depends on the person. One bamboo is more hollow than another. Is it possible for all to comprehend the nature of God? Can a 1-seer pot hold 5 seers of milk? M. But what about the grace of God? Through His grace, a camel can pass through the eye of a needle. Master. But is it possible to obtain God's grace just like that? A beggar may get a penny if he asks for it. But suppose he asks you right off for his train fare. How about that? M stood silent. The master too remained silent. Suddenly he said, yes, it's true. Through the grace of God, some may get both jnana and bhakti. M saluted the master and went back to the bale tree. So here, Master Mahasaya is asking about jnana and bhakti. Through spiritual discipline, can one get pure devotion for God and also knowledge of God in the sense of Aham Brahmasmi, that I will realize God. What we're talking about in the Durga Bari classes there, the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Ramakrishna is stressing it's difficult, the path of non-dual knowledge. Why is it difficult? Understanding it is not difficult. Though people may feel it's so complicated, I can't understand it, it's giving me a headache listening to all that. But actually, if one spends some time with it and one reads and listens carefully, it's not difficult to understand. But understanding is not enough. It will not lead to the results. What results are we looking for? We are looking for fulfillment, ananda, bliss, paramananda prapti. We are looking for transcendence of sorrow, atyantika dukkha nivritti. The word transcendence of sorrow is well chosen. It's not that the problems will cease. Old age will come, disease will come, inevitably death will come. Failures in life will come. Ups and downs in life are inevitable. In a changing world, all sorts of circumstances will come and disappear. So there will be trouble. However, in the midst of that trouble, can I remain without being affected? Can I remain at peace? Do I have the strength to overcome these struggles? That is the purpose of, that is the meaning of transcendence of sorrow. Not that actually problems in the world will disappear. Waves in the ocean never will become calm. But am I able to swim in those waves without drowning? That's what spirituality does. Did I tell you about Bhagavan Buddha's the two arrows yesterday? There is that story. It's actually from the original Pali scriptures, where Bhagavan Buddha was asked by a monk of his order, a Buddhist bhikkhu, that you had said that the goal is to overcome sorrow. And how did you, Buddha, how did you become the Buddha? You saw these three signs, the old man and the sick man and the dead man. These are the three aspects of sorrow. And then you saw the monk and you decided, I will search for a way out of sorrow. Remember, the Prince Siddhartha did not have that kind of sorrow at that time. He was young and vigorous and he had all the pleasures and happiness in the world, but he saw it is inevitable. It will come to me, it will come to everybody. How, is there any solution to this at all? So he went out in search of that. And then you found it. You said, at least the monk is asking Buddha, you said you found the solution to the sorrow and you will teach it to us. And that's how we became monks, and we are trying to overcome sorrow. But old age is coming to us and old age is coming to you also. You're also getting older. You know, Buddha went on teaching till the age of 80. And disease, we are also getting disease. You're also getting disease. And death, we are also, some of us are beginning to die. One day, all of us will die. So how did you overcome sorrow? You see, this is a question. Sorrow is old age, disease, death, and all sorts of problems in life. And you say, you have overcome sorrow. You are teaching us the way. And we are following your instructions. But the same problems are still there. Old age is there, disease is there, and death is there, problems in life are there. So how did you overcome sorrow? You see the question? And the Buddha's answer was, imagine a man hit by two arrows. One arrow comes and hits the man. Imagine the shock and the pain. And then immediately a second arrow. Imagine the tremendous shock and the pain. And so the first arrow is what life throws at us. What does life throw at us? Various problems in life. Inevitability of change and decay and sorrow, old age, disease, death, jara, vyadhi, mrityu. All these things are the first arrow. First arrow. Then what is the second arrow? The second arrow is our reaction to it. How do we react to all these problems in life? Small problems, big problems. How do we react? And maximum suffering is caused because of that second arrow, by our reaction. Any doctor, critical care doctor, palliative care doctor, they will know, and nurses, they know. Same disease, same problem, reaction of two different patients is very different. One patient may be dying of a terminal illness, may be calm and quiet. Another patient with a much smaller illness, completely broken apart, falling apart. Now, the suffering of the second patient is actually more. And that suffering is because of the second arrow. That is our reaction to this. That shows the real cause of suffering is not what the world is throwing at us. The real cause is how we handle. The real suffering is in the mind, how we react to all this. And then the Buddha says that my teaching, that means Buddhism, that means spirituality, what can it do? It can take care of that second suffering, that second arrow. About the first arrow, I cannot do anything. So just like old age, disease, and death are coming to everybody who are not spiritual, disease, old age, and death, and other kinds of suffering will come to those who are spiritual also. I'm sorry. It will come. It is inevitable. Krishna says at the very beginning of Gita, Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityu. For those who are born, death is certain. In that case, why the rest of this 18 chapters, Bhagavad Gita? What is there to teach then? He is teaching you how to deal with that second arrow. How to deal with death without any concern at all. How to be peaceful in the midst of all sorts of troubles. How to be not afraid in life or in death. Not at all. I remember this, I will share with you because person concerned has passed away. So years ago, about 4 or 5 years ago, I keep getting, this requests for meeting, nowadays online. So somebody wrote, a lady said that I want to speak with you on Skype. So usually I put it aside because I can't speak with everybody. It's impossible. I said, yes, it's possible if we get time, sometime if you meet, we can speak. Then she wrote, next email, I don't have time. I am dying. I'll be gone in a matter of few weeks. So I want to speak to you. So of course I had to say, yes, of course I will speak. So we set up a Skype meeting. This lady was in a palliative care in Canada, elderly white Canadian lady, or US, I think American, but in Canada now. And she had some questions about spiritual life, and she was dying, and her niece was taking care of her. So we had a series of conversations. He was mostly tired, but very calm. Never spoke about her suffering, never spoke about the disease. She had some questions about spiritual life, Vedanta, Buddhism, things like that. One day I still remember, I said to her that, and she was very matter of fact, she knew that it was almost over. I said to her that, I admire your calmness in the face of death. I hope when my time comes, I'll be as calm as that. And she smiled and said, I'm sure you will be, Swami. So when the time came for the next conversation, there was no contact. So 1 or 2 days later, her niece called me and said, day before yesterday, my aunt passed away. She was very peaceful when she passed. And the room, I had seen the room on the Skype. The room was like a meditation room, so calm when she passed away. And after she passed, the whole room felt like a presence, absolute calmness, stillness. So that is the second arrow. Second arrow has been taken care of. So the old age, disease, suffering, death, all was there. All was there. But it was no concern for her. That's wonderful to see. That means spirituality works. So that is the purpose of spiritual life. It takes care of the suffering within. Now, both bhakti and jnana can do this for us. Bhakti is complete surrender to Ishvara, to Bhagavan. Sri Ramakrishna compares it with the light of the moon. And jnana is realizing the truth about ourselves. What is the truth? That actually we are not this body and mind. This body will age and die one day. And it has died many times earlier. We have had many bodies according to all our beliefs in Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism. We have had many, many lifetimes, and it will pass away. This body we have lived through many such bodies. It's no big deal. But a strange thing to say about death. It's no big deal. So life and death have come and gone many times. One sadhu in Uttarakhand is saying to a group of devotees, he's sitting there and he's saying, Aap ho na, you are here. Koi maar saka hai aapko. Has anybody been able to destroy you? Even the Lord of Death, Yama, has not been able to kill you. And kill the body. So many times the body has gone. You're still here. The worst problems in life you have faced in many lifetimes, you're still here. That shows us that our real nature is immortal. But not only immortal, that's not enough to know that we are immortal. We are immortal and then suffering immortally again, lifetime after life. That is not a very good condition. Krishna says, Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityu dhruvam janma mritasya cha. The death is certain for those who die. But those who are dead, they are dead. Birth is certain for them, rebirth. So freedom from this cycle of birth and death is possible, and that is the goal of spirituality. Moksha. Punarjanma is not the goal of spirituality. Punarjanma is assured anyway, but moksha is the goal of spirituality. Freedom from this. Why would we want freedom from this? Because this is a very limited existence and subject to suffering. And we have the possibility of an unlimited existence free of suffering. That is moksha. Now, these are two paths, bhakti and jnana. In bhakti, we catch hold of Ishvara, Bhagavan. And with the help of Bhagavan, we go beyond suffering and samsara. And the method there is love. And that makes it easier. The jnana, the path is direct. This is like sunlight. Remember, moonlight is sunlight only, but reflected from the moon. So sunlight, direct path is we investigate what we are and we discover that we are not the body mind and we are ever free of body mind, birth and death. That is the path of jnana. And Sri Ramakrishna says the path of jnana is a little more rare, a little more difficult. Path of bhakti is easier. Not only that, through the path of bhakti, one may get jnana. Because Ishvara can give anything. God can give us anything. Not only devotion, not only freedom from this samsara, but also jnana. Pray to the Lord by the Lord's wish. Same Brahma Jnana which the Vedantin gets, we can also get through devotion to Bhagavan. At first, so today in this dialogue, Sri Ramakrishna is being a little strict. M said, what about the grace of God? By grace of God, we can get all this. And Sri Ramakrishna says, is the grace of God so cheap? He says, you may get a little bit if you ask very much. If you pray very much, the beggar may get a penny. The lady of the house may throw a penny to the beggar. But if the beggar asks for everything, let me become Brahmagyani, let me get, Jivan Mukti in this life, then you'll have to work for it. One devotee who took Mantra Diksha from Ma Sharada, after taking Mantra Diksha, he asked her, suppose I don't do repetition of the mantra. Her answer was very interesting. She said, my child, since you have taken Mantra Diksha from me, it is done for you. At the point of your death, Sri Ramakrishna will come for you and take you. And that means in an indirect way, she is saying moksha is assured for you. That is a great assurance. But then she adds, if ekhoni jodi anando chao, তাহলে সাধন করতে হবে. But if you want happiness in this life itself, then you will have to do spiritual practice. That means you will have to repeat the mantra. You will have to repeat the mantra. You will have to do spiritual practice. Some spiritual practice one has to do. If one does not do spiritual practice, she's saying, I've given you moksha. You don't know it yet, but I've given you moksha. At the time of your death, it is free. You will be freed. You will not have to come back to this cycle of birth and death. But right now, if you want happiness, if you want to be free of the second arrow, right now, then you have to do spiritual practice. You have to do meditation, prayer, selfless work. Which means the effect of the second arrow, that will not be removed in this life unless one does some spiritual practice. At midday, finding that M had not yet returned, Sri Ramakrishna started towards the bale tree. But on reaching the Panchavati, he met M carrying his prayer carpet and water jug. M saluted the master. Sri Ramakrishna said to M, I was coming to look for you. Because of your delay, I thought you might have scaled the wall and run away. I watched your eyes this morning and felt apprehensive lest you should go away like Narayan Shastri. He was a great scholar who had come to Sri Ramakrishna, and he left, and he spent the rest of his life in solitary spiritual practice. And I said to myself, no, he won't run away. He thinks a great deal before doing anything. So Sri Ramakrishna thinks that I have been so strict, so maybe he will not stay anymore. From there is a big wall on the other side of the bale tree there. So maybe he'll jump across the wall and run away and never come back again. The same night, the master talked to M, Rakhal, Latu. Rakhal, later Swami Brahmananda. Latu, later Swami Adbhutananda, Harish, and a few other devotees. Master to M. Some people gave a metaphysical interpretation of Vrindavan episode of Sri Krishna's life. What do you say about it? That means symbolic. M. There are various opinions. What if there are? You have told us the story of Bhishma Deva's weeping on his bed of arrows because he could not understand anything of God's ways. Again, you have told us that Hanuman used to say, I don't know anything about the day of the week, the position of the stars, and so forth. I only meditate on Rama. Further, you have said to us in the last analysis, there are two things only, Brahman and its power. You have also said that after the attainment of Brahma Jnana, a man realizes these two to be one, the one that has no two. What a beautiful summary. All those details. Sri Ramakrishna himself instigates. So, what is the meaning of the Vrindavan Leela of Krishna? Is there some deeper metaphysical meaning, or should we take it literally? This is how we approach scriptures. Directly, do you want to take the literal meaning, or do you want to say Kurukshetra, for example? Is it a battlefield where the two sides fought a war, a civil war, a long way back in the history of India? Or is it symbolic that within ourselves there is Kurukshetra and good and bad forces and so on? How do you interpret? M quotes Sri Ramakrishna back. He says it's not important. This is like a teacher giving a task to a student. Let's see how he solves it. And M says not important. Why not? He gives few examples. You yourself told us that at the end of the war in Kurukshetra, Bhishma was lying on the bed of arrows and weeping. And Arjuna thought, how strange. He is the most wise in the whole family. Why is he weeping? Krishna says, why don't you ask? Is he weeping in sorrow after so much wisdom and all? Then Arjuna asks Bhishma, and Bhishma says, I'm not weeping for myself or for the war or anything. I'm weeping because I cannot understand the ways of Sri Krishna. Sri Krishna is avatar, and he's always with the Pandavas, and yet there is no end to the sorrows of the Pandavas. How to understand this? Then, second, Hanuman. Hanuman, Mahagyani. Hanuman is actually the embodiment of all the four yogas. He is a full Jnani. Srinathe Janakinathe Abheda Paramatmani. My Lord Rama and Lord Vishnu are one consciousness, which I am also. Atma Buddhya Tvamevaham. He says to his, what directness, boldness. To his own Lord Ramachandra says, you and I are same. And Mahagyani. And yet at the same time, Mahabhakta, a great devotee. Mama Sarvasva Sri Rama Kamalalochana. The lotus-eyed Rama is my all in all, he says. He is a master of yoga and samadhi with all the powers of the yogis and all. And he is a great karma yogi. He's always, that Hanuman Chalisa is there. Rama Kaja Karibe Ko Atura. Always eager to do the work of Sri Ramachandra. We see this in the lives of devotees. I was very touched this time to see an old monk in one of our ashramas. So the meeting is going on. I gave a talk. A lot of devotees had come. And then people are taking prasad and going away. This old monk who is so ill that he's bound to a wheelchair. In the wheelchair, he's going around with a broomstick and cleaning the ashram. So I asked Senior Swami, and they said that, see, this Swamiji, he has taken care of the ashram for 50 years. And he says in Bengali, Ekhon ki kore thambe bolo? How will he stop now? Till the end of his life, he will take care of everything. This is Sri Ramakrishna's ashram. 50 years he has worked to take care. Now he cannot even walk. But with the wheelchair, what is he doing? Everybody is telling, take rest. We will do it. No. Little bit of work that I can do. He's using the broomstick to swim. Very vivid memory I have of that. So, great karma yogi, Hanuman. But after all this, what does Hanuman say? I don't know anything about Desh, that is, Din, Kal, Tithi, Nakatra, day of the week, position of the stars, and so on. I only meditate on Rama. Often there is a very popular calendar picture of Hanuman in India. It's a little gruesome. He has opened his chest and showing that inside only Rama and Sita are there. So But that's the point. Focus. I heard a Baul song in Bengal. This old Muslim fakir, he's singing. I forgot the exact word, but it means this as far as I remember. এক মন যে সেই পার হবে, দু মনা খপ্পরে পড়বে. Ek mon, that means whose mind is gathered into oneness, focused on one. That person will go across the ocean of samsara. The one who scatters his mind will get caught here. So here, Hanuman is focused entirely on Sri Ramachandra. But what about, we have so many questions. So much discussion is going on Shankaracharya with the dualist, non-dualist. What is the answer to that? Real insight. We can do all that, no problem. But inside our attitude should be like Bhagavan, like Bhishma. That there is, it is beyond our capacity to fully understand this. That exercise is good for us. That investigation, the dialectics, the clarity is good for us. But nobody should say that we have understood Bhagavan and Maya. Impossible. Then what should we do? We should be like Hanuman, focus on Brahman. What is this thing we are focusing on? Then the next paragraph. See, what M has so beautifully summarized the whole attitude, answer. He says, in the last analysis, there are two things. Brahman and Shakti. Why two things? Why not only Brahman? I asked one of our teachers, I was a brahmachari one day. I was always fond of Advaita Vedanta. So Brahman, one reality, Aham Brahmasmi, finished. I asked our teacher, one Swami, then why so much talk about Shakti? And he says, as long as the world is appearing to you, as long as this body is appearing to you, as long as change is appearing to you, you must give it some label. You must put it under some head and some account. The account is Shakti account. This everything going on here. And yet there is ultimate reality, Brahman. So these two things provisionally you accept. Then what will happen? After enlightenment, you will see, after the attainment of Brahma Jnana, a man realizes these two to be one. Then what happens to two, Brahman and Shakti? This is one that has no two. Ekam eva dvitiyam. Which is actually the conclusion of Advaita Vedanta. So even that is attained through this path. Master, he agrees. He says, yes, that is true. Your ideal is to reach the goal. You may reach it by going either through a thorny forest or along a good road. I wonder, thorny forest is the path of jnana. Good road is the path of bhakti. Diverse opinions certainly exist. So he's admitting all the philosophies we talked about. Yesterday we were talking about, he says, yes, there are there. Nangta used to say, the naked one. So remember, the tradition was you should not take the name of your guru directly. One should. So indirectly, so you can refer. Sri Ramakrishna, because Totapuri was his Vedanta guru, so you should call him Nangta, the naked one. Nangta used to say that the monks could not be feasted because of the diversity of their views. Once a feast was arranged for the sannyasis. Monks belonging to many sects were invited. Everyone claimed that his sect should be fed first, but no conclusion could be arrived at. At last, they all went away, and the food had to be given to the prostitutes. M. Totapuri was indeed a great soul. Master. But Hajra says he was an ordinary man. There's no use in discussing these things. Everyone says that his watch alone gives the correct time. You see, Narayan Shastri developed a spirit of intense renunciation. He was a great scholar. He gave up his wife and went away. A man attains yoga when he completely effaces lust and gold from his mind. With some, the characteristics of the yogi are well marked. So this is the Narayan Shastri whom he referred to earlier, who jumped over the wall and ran away and never was seen again. And he went and did sadhana. There is the beautiful story about this young American lady who came to hear Swami Abhedananda. And after a Vedanta class, asked Swami Abhedananda, is this true? That ultimately there's a spiritual reality, you can realize it, that is the goal of human life, and the solution to everything. Is this true? Abhidanji said yes. And they never saw her again. It was said that she went away to an island and spent the rest of her days in meditation and prayer. So this is that. If it is true, I will hold on to this. I don't want anything else. Narayan Shastri developed a spirit of intense renunciation. He was a great scholar. He gave up his wife and went away. A man attains yoga when he completely effaces lust and gold from his mind. With some, the characteristics of the yogi are well marked. I shall have to tell you something of the six centers. The mind of the yogi passes through these and he realizes God through his grace. Have you heard of the six centers? M. These are the seven planes of the Vedanta, Shaptabhumi in Vedanta. But actually, that's not what is meant. Master says, not the Vedanta, but the Vedas. Do you know what the six centers are like? They are like lotuses in the subtle body. The yogis see them. They are like fruits and leaves of a wax tree. M. Yes, sir. The yogis can perceive them. I have read that there is a kind of glass through which a tiny object looks very big. Likewise, through yoga, one can see these subtle lotuses. Following Sri Ramakrishna's direction, M spent the night in the hut at the Panchavati. That means meditation. In the early hours of the morning, he was singing alone, I am without the least benefit of prayer and austerity, O Lord. I am the lowliest of the lowly. Make me pure with thy hallowed touch. One by one I pass my days in hope of reaching thy lotus feet. But thee, alas, I have not found. Suddenly, M glanced toward the window, and saw that the master was standing there. Sri Ramakrishna's eyes became heavy with tears as M sang the line, I am the lowliest of the lowly, make me pure with thy hallowed touch. M sang again, I shall put on the ochre robe and earrings made of conch shell. Thus, in the garb of a yogini, from place to place I shall wander till I have found my cruel Hari. M saw that master was walking with Rakhal. These descriptions are very touching. If you see, carefully read quietly, and try to understand M's mind. He has a distinct feeling that Sri Ramakrishna is none other than incarnation, is an incarnation of the Lord. So these lines he's singing, and then he mentions, and he's singing that I have not reached you, I'm waiting for your grace. And then he sees Sri Ramakrishna standing near the window and looking at him with tears in his eyes. Diverse opinions certainly exist, and then the feast was spoiled. The point of that story, the parable, is that if you stay too much with what we were doing yesterday, huh? Duality, non-duality, equating Ishvara and Jiva. Now Shankaracharya is hell-bent on proving that Ishvara and Jiva are one reality. So he answers all the questions one by one. But Sri Ramakrishna's, what is Sri Ramakrishna's solution? Sri Ramakrishna's solution is whether Jiva and Ishvara are different or whether Jiva and Ishvara are one. The thing is to attain Ishvara, is to attain Brahman, is to attain God realization. Do it by the path of jnana, then you will have to realize how you and Brahman are one reality. Or do it by the path of duality, Dvaita Vedanta, where Ishvara is there, I am here, common sense approach. I feel I am this body. I can't understand how I am one with Ishvara. Fine. Then hold on to that attitude and do sadhana there. Then the sadhana will be different. The sadhana there will be not so much logical investigation. The sadhana there will be bhakti, it will be prayer, it will be japa, it will be worship. And follow that path and you will attain. Why? How is it possible? By the path of jnana you will attain, by the path of bhakti also you will attain. Because the reality which we are trying to access is one and the same reality. Sri Ramakrishna puts it very simply. He says, if you eat this, like a pancake, pite. If you eat it this way, and if you eat it that way, it will still taste sweet because the object is the same. However, if you end up quarreling, this way is right and that way is wrong, in the end you will not get to eat the pancake at all. You will not get to eat the pita at all. So that is the point of the story. Then M said, "Oh, Totapuri was a great soul, you know." So Totapuri is important for us in the Ramakrishna order because Totapuri was Sri Ramakrishna's sannyasa guru. So the sannyasa tradition in our order comes to us through Totapuri. Totapuri belongs to the Puri Sampradaya. And that's why our full name, for example, Swami Sarvapriyananda Puri, Sri Ramakrishna Puri, Swami Vivekananda Puri. I've told you the funny story once in Gangotri. I met this Naga sannyasi. I wanted to know it was a genuine Naga sannyasi. Sometimes you see in Kumbh Mela and all, many of them are, they fake it. They're not really Naga sannyasi. They just join the group. But so somebody told me, yes, there's a genuine Naga sannyasi. He stays near the bridge over Gangotri, over the river. So I went there. Wooden bridges, the old wooden bridge. See what kind of respect the earlier generation of sadhus and pilgrims had. Even when they crossed the wooden bridge over the fast-flowing Bhagirathi Ganga, they would take off their sandals and hold it in their hand. They would not want to wear the sandals while crossing. That's gone now, but anyway, that was the inner attitude towards the Ganga. So I went there, and that I saw he was a skinny fellow. He was not totally naked. He was only wearing a loin cloth. It's in that cold. He was sitting near a little fire he had lit. Like Todapuri used to have a fire. And I started talking with him, asked him his name. He said, at a very fierce look, Purnam Giri, tera naam kya hai? What's your name? I said, Swami Sarvapriyananda. Eh? Sarvapriyananda? Puri kaha gaya? Sabji ke saath kha gaya? There is the Puri which you should attach to your name. Sarvapriyananda Puri, no? So he knows that I belong to Ramakrishna. He knows the whole tradition that I belong to Ramakrishna mission. He's from the Giri, but I am from the Puri tradition. He knows I belong to the Ramakrishna order, and he told me, "Are tu to apna hi aadmi hai. You belong to us." I said, "How?" So he belongs to the same monastic group as Totapuri. So he says they have akhadas, groupings of monks. So some Puri monks, some Giri monks, and he said. तोतापुरी का चेला रामकृष्ण, रामकृष्ण का चेला विवेकानंद, और तू विवेकानंद का चेला है. So no gap between me and Vivekananda. Totapuri's disciple is Ramakrishna. Ramakrishna's disciple is Vivekananda, and you are Vivekananda's disciple, so you belong to us. What about the puri? Did you eat it with your sabji? I said, no, Sarvapriyananda Puri. हाँ, बाबू बन गया है. You become a gentleman sadhu. Huh? You are ashamed to say full name, Sarvapriyananda Puri. So that is the tradition. The reference is to the 10 orders of monks said to have been started by Shankaracharya, and it's there. The 10 orders are there. For example, Saraswati. We all know Dayananda Saraswati. There was one who was founder of Arya Samaj. Recently, Dayananda Saraswati ji, the Arsha Vidya Gurukul and all, he passed away just a few years back. Then there is Bharati. Then there is Keshav Bharati was the guru of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's guru was Keshav Bharati. Then there is Puri. Ishwara Puri also was the guru of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. One was Diksha Guru, one was Sannyas Guru. Then there is Giri. And then there is Vanam. Chinmayananda Swami's guru was Tapo Vanam. And then there is Ashrama. And then there is Parvata. Then there is Sagara. And then there is, so like this, 10 are there. I've forgotten all the names. Swami Vivekananda maintained it, but also he was not too rigid about it. He had his boyish humor. Somebody asked him, Swamiji, what kind of monk are you? Are you Puri or Giri? And he replied, no, apni ki Puri na Giri? Aap Puri hai ya Giri hai? And he said, neither. Neither means, main kachori hu. Puri na Giri, I mean kochuri. That's another type of preparation, you know, okay. Puri and then kachori. Thank God he didn't say I'm Luchi. So if you are wandering in the Himalayas as a monk by yourself, the other monks will ask you which order you belong to. So they'll want to place you. So, and these 10 Dashanami, these 10 together are called Dashanami. So they are like an elite among the monastic orders, but there are other monks also. There's the Nath Sampradaya, and then there are many others. There's the Dasa Sampradaya, and so many. And so many orders. You meet all sorts of monks when you are, as a monk, if you travel by yourself. Very interesting to meet them and talk with them. And all right. He has talked about bhakti, he has talked about jnana, and then he talks about the kundalini and the chakras. So all the three paths he has touched here in this short dialogue. The six chakras. At first, our M was confused. He said, "Oh, you're referring to the 7 Saptabhumi of Vedanta." He said, "No, not that is different. There's 7 stages in Vedanta of enlightenment, and here, this is another path, the yogic path, where this Kundalini is awakened and it proceeds to the spine and reaches. So these things are not physical things. You cannot operate and find out where in the spine the chakras are there. These are realized in the subtle body, like M says. You can see something very subtle through the power of yoga. Those are just stages in spiritual life, development of spiritual life. All right. I will not start the next day's reading. If you have questions, comments, please raise your hand and tell us. Yes, there. Please tell us your name and ask. Yes, of course. You were there in the class yesterday.
There's this question that's been on constantly. Two questions. If, what are you all doing? What is our purpose? If the person is to realize who we are, why in the first place did we forget who we are? Why all this? And if we are here, how is that person? And if that person is to realize who we are.
All right, so yes. Now that's the big question, biggest possible question. What's going on here? And that comes when we first awaken to spiritual life, we take it seriously. Then we first question. Before this, nobody questions. What's going on here? We're very happy with what's going on here. Those who have a happy life, they're happy with it. Pursuing money, relationships, lots of things to do, lots of nice things to achieve and get in this world, pursuing it. Even more so those who are suffering. They're so caught up in suffering. My pain, my poverty, my failure, my complexes, my guilt. I'm caught up in that. So either in pleasure or in pain, people are caught up and they don't bother about the whole big question of what's going on here. So this is the beginning of spiritual life. We all become spiritual when we take a step back and look at the whole thing, whether it is good or whether it's bad. But what is this and what am I? And then we are given this story that you are a jiva, obviously, and this is not your first life. We have been going through this many lives. What is the purpose of this going through many experiences through many lives? To reach ultimate fulfillment. What would be ultimate fulfillment? Transcendence of suffering, attainment of peace and fulfillment. Ananda prapti, dukkha nivritti. You say, why ananda prapti, dukkha nivritti? There is no why there. Like it or not, don't like it, all living beings are trying to overcome suffering and trying to attain fulfillment. Automatically, that is beyond question. Find out anybody, including ourselves, at any time, from babyhood till now, any living being also, which does not want to overcome pain, which does not want to find satisfaction. No, all living beings. So we are in a mad rush to find something. That, if you take a look at life, it's going on. There's something which is driving us forward. Now, what is that thing and why are we trying to find it? Spirituality gives this answer. There is such a thing which we are trying to find, and that is ultimate fulfillment. And if you do it consciously, If you move towards that goal, which goal? Which goal? Anyway, everybody is moving towards that goal. If you consciously, deliberately move towards Ananda Prapti, that is called spirituality. We'll call you, you are spiritual. If you don't move it towards it consciously, you will still keep moving towards it. Life will force you. Then you say, I'm just living life. If I deliberately move towards the goal, I am spiritual. If I don't believe all that spirituality, but you'll be forced towards the goal anyway by your very nature. Whole of the Prakriti, nature, and our very inner constitution is forcing us towards it. I was reading Sean Carroll. He's a well-known physicist in Caltech. So he's written a book, The Big Picture. I went to two of his book launches actually, and one in Hollywood, one at Harvard. Now, at the end of the book, it's a little disappointing because when he comes to his cosmology is of course great. That's his subject. But in the end, when he comes to consciousness, his approach is a little disappointing. For example, he says, no, goal is not happiness. For example, my goal is to know the secret of the universe. I'm willing to put up with unhappiness to find out the goal and to find out the secret of the universe, the solution to the problems of physics. But that's not a profound analysis. The simple question there would be, yes, you will put up with a lot of trouble to find out the answer to your question. When you find the answer to your question, is it satisfying or dissatisfying? It is satisfying. The search for the answer to your question, is that satisfying or dissatisfying? That is satisfying. So you are looking for satisfaction. You are looking for fulfillment. Some look for it in crude ways, pleasure, power, worldly things. Some look for it in more refined ways, art, creativity, doing good to others, bigger, greater causes for the welfare of humanity. And some in the highest sense, what is the ultimate mystery of the universe? That is spirituality. Now, if you say we are looking for our real nature, well, when did we forget the real nature? See, within the realm of ignorance, there is no answer to this question. There is a problem, it has been defined in this way, and try to overcome. So if the problem is ignorance. Now someone may say, when did ignorance come? When did we forget? Like you say, when did we forget our real nature? We did not forget, but we are ignorant of it. But then, if I am Brahman, then how did I become ignorant of it? Where did this ignorance start from? The answer in Vedanta is, it did not start, it's beginningless. None of you seem convinced. It seems the moment we hear this, when did we ignorance start? Answer Vedanta gives us, please sit. The answer is, it is beginningless. Then our reaction is, what do you say in America? It's a cop out. You're trying to avoid answering the question by saying ignorance is beginningless. What do you mean ignorance is beginningless? But actually, ignorance is beginningless. There was a great professor of Indian philosophy, Professor J.N. Mahanti. He passed, I don't know if he's, at least last I knew he was very ill. But anyway, I used to attend his classes in the Institute of Culture in Gol Park in Calcutta. He explained it so well. He says, beginningless ignorance, anadi avidya. Again and again you hear in Vedanta. You feel it is some great philosophical concept, or difficult for me to understand. Beginningless ignorance, what is? It's the most common sense thing. Professor Mahanti said that ignorance is always beginningless. And he gave us the example. He asked us, do you know German? No. So you are ignorant of German? Yes. When did your ignorance of German start? At your birth? When you was born? That means before your birth you knew German? No. So ignorance of German is beginningless. In fact, ignorance of anything is beginningless. But it comes to an end the moment you go to a German class and get some knowledge about German, then German language, then the ignorance starts to go away. So ignorance is always beginningless. And our ignorance about ourselves is always beginningless. But it comes to an end when we realize who we are. But why should we at all go through all this? Yeah, right. She's saying, yeah, why should I go through all this? Somerset Maugham, who wrote the book, the beautiful book, The Razor's Edge. A lot of Americans, after they read that, they became interested in spirituality, in yoga, in Vedanta and all. Very nice book. It's about a man called Larry, a veteran of the First World War, who goes to India in search of spirituality. Um, actually, Somerset Maugham himself met Raman Maharshi. And Larry, in that, there's a description of Larry going and meeting Raman Maharshi. Names have been changed. Anyway, Somerset Maugham knew quite a bit of Vedanta. He studied. And he realizes that Brahman created the world. Then he writes, it is dry English humor. He writes, one feels that Brahman could have left well enough alone. All this problem he has created. What is the answer from? I'll give you the highest answer, and that if that's mysterious, I'll work its way down. The highest answer is direct, but it's difficult to understand. The highest answer, the final answer, Advaita Vedanta will, if you ask Advaita Vedanta, why did Brahman create all this? Why are we in this mess? If you ask, the answer from Advaita Vedanta is Brahman didn't. Didn't. It's like asking, so Brahman didn't. But then we say, but we are seeing it. What do you mean Brahman didn't? This is an appearance. It's like a movie. Will you ask the movie screen, why did you create this tragedy? The answer is it's a film. It's not really a tragedy. It's not really a horror story. It's a film. If you know. If you don't know, it's a nightmare then, if you're trapped in it. So again, we go back to see the power of Shankaracharya's answer, which we saw yesterday in the discussion. All the questions, he said one short answer. Jnana ajnanayoho anyatvena upapattehe. Everything becomes logical when you see the distinction between knowledge and ignorance. In ignorance, I am this little fellow in a vast world, and now I'm being told not only this life I have to suffer, many more lives I have to suffer. And there is some goal called God realization. The whole thing seems not quite logical to me. Only in ignorance. On that side of enlightenment, there's no question at all. If this answer, this is Advaitic answer. The highest Advaitic answer is called Ajatavada. The world itself was not created at all. Brahman alone exists. So there is no use asking Brahman, Mr. Brahman, why did you create this world? Brahman will answer, what world? Why did you become a jiva and suffer so much? What jiva? I am Brahman, infinite existence, consciousness, please. Finished. I was listening to a Tibetan master, Tibetan Buddhist, who does not believe in God and all that. He's saying, the highest truth, in the basic space of emptiness, shunya, place the ineffable awareness, consciousness, pure consciousness, undistractedly. Any thought that arises from your nature and fades back into your nature. This is the highest teaching. Stay there. Then all questions are gone, but then we can't stay there. That's our problem. If this answer is also not, it's too much, too philosophical, then let's go one step down. The answer, so you see multiple answers are there. One step down, Kashmiri Shaivism. I love that, this is Parama Shiva vibrating in all this ways. I love that anecdote told by Alan Watts, a parable. Alan Watts, he was in 1960s, I think, he was in the Bay Area. So somebody called him part pirate, part philosopher. So there's this nice anecdote which I love. And he says, it seems like a little story for kids, but it's very profound. He says that God was there from eternity to eternity, one reality. But eternity is a pretty long time. So God got bored. But God wanted to play. But who will he play with? He has no friend. There's nobody else, nothing else. So he thought about the problem. Who will I play with? But because God is very clever, God came up with the answer. And the answer was God pretended to be not God. God pretended to be not God. So God and not God. Two are there. Now God can play. But the problem is, because God is very good at what he does, when he pretended to be not God, he completely forgot that he was God. And now God pretending to be not God and searching for who am I? This is samsara. Here we are now. This is the Kashmiri Shaiva answer. Shiva. Shiva vibrates and produces this universe. Shiva alone appears as Jiva. Sri Ramakrishna says in the Gospel in one place, Pash Baddha Jeev, Pash Mukto Sheeb. Caught in the various bondages, Shiva alone is Jiva. Freed from the bondages, Jiva alone is Shiva. That's why Pasha, the bondages, Pashupati, tied with the Pasha, with the bounds, one is called Pashu. Like an animal is tied. And freed from that, one becomes Shiva, or one is Shiva. If that also is not acceptable, let's go one step further. The dualistic Dvaita Vedanta. There is Jagat, there is Jivas, this much we accept. And in faith, let us accept there is God. God, Ishvara. Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara. God has created this universe and is helping us towards Himself, towards God, so that we get fulfillment. This is the dualistic idea. This is common more or less in different forms in many Vaishnava sects, Shaiva sects, and Shakta sects, in Christianity, in Islam, in all the theistic religions. This is the basic idea. So you have a choice of theories. See whichever it. Yes, I'll come to you. Yes. Hmm. Hmm.
They are probably not related or maybe related. Number one is we talk about we carry on with our cycle of birth and death because of our karma, the karma, karma. So where did we have our karma in the first birth that we?
Exactly as I said, beginningless. Anadi. There is no such thing as a first birth. This is a continuing thing, because what they will drive at is actually you did not even have a first birth. You don't even have this birth. When we become enlightened, when we become Brahmagyani and we realize the truth, Aham Brahmasmi, will we feel, oh, I have gone through so many births and deaths. Now I have realized my true nature and I'm free forever from the cycle of birth and death. That seems to be the conclusion. No, that's not what we will realize. When we become enlightened, we will realize, oh, I was always free. And this cycle of births and deaths is an appearance in me, like seeing a movie on a movie screen, except that I am the movie screen in which the movie is playing. I was never caught in any of these births and deaths. I was always ever free Brahman. This is what we will realize.
You say you must love everybody. Love is one of the aspects of getting closer to God or realization. So, or to understand oneself, like I am Atma. So, and the rest, everybody is Atma. Now, we may be able to understand the middle of our own self as a single, that I'm free, I'm eternal, I'm infinite. How do we see that in other people who we do not see such aspects in their everyday life?
The moment I see myself as the witness consciousness, please sit, I will immediately note, as I am the consciousness illumining this mind and personality and body, clearly that's what must be going on in all these bodies and minds. And as this consciousness is coming through this, in a church they have stained glass windows, the light comes to that, the same light from outside, but when it comes to the stained glass windows, it takes on different colors. So same consciousness coming through this mind gives the personality of Sarvapriyananda. Same consciousness coming through that mind gives another personality. So when you see other people with different personalities, some are sattvic, some are rajasic, some are tamasic, and so everything in between. It's all it's like the stained glass window. It's like the mind which is giving these kind of shades. Behind it is one consciousness. More I realize this in myself, the more I will see it in others. The more I see myself as a body, I will see others as a body. The more I see myself as a person, I'll see others as personalities. The more I see myself as this impersonal consciousness, through a particular person, I will see others also as impersonal consciousness through various personalities. Yes. Please tell us your name and ask the question.
My name is Roshni Dalal.
Yes.
I have just teaching Sunday school here to children. Yesterday, I was listening to your lecture, and particularly was, very awakened by this connection between consciousness, mind, and body. How to connect it. But I'm still trying to understand what consciousness is and enlightenment. And I myself teach yoga and I teach meditation. And one of the things that I get from many of my students is I feel so peaceful afterwards. I feel so much more relaxed. So my question to you is, in these mind and body practices, japa, meditation, yoga, are we invoking that consciousness? Are we waking up our own consciousness through these practices?
Yes and no. Why no? Because consciousness is there anyway, whether one does yoga or does not do yoga. When mind is peaceful and mind is not peaceful, when the full of desires and not and very desireless, when one is very worldly and when one is very saintly, all these are revealed by consciousness. Consciousness, awareness, I'm just using them indifferently because there is no precise word in English which corresponds to Chit or Chaitanya or Samvit or Bodha. Those are wonderful words in Sanskrit. But yes, because it's no use saying it's the same consciousness everywhere. Practically, if we want benefit in our life, we need a calm and pure mind, a peaceful, healthy body. A relaxed, peaceful, still, healthy body, then peaceful mind. Then only the fact that I am consciousness will become clear. Otherwise, what happens is it's mixed up with the activities of the body mind. So what will seem real to me is I am this person suffering from so many physical ailments and suffering from so many mental problems. That's all mental problems and physical ailments are being revealed by the same consciousness. So are we becoming more conscious by body mind practices? No, but we are manifesting that consciousness better with the yogic practices. What do these yogic practices actually do? They don't make you consciousness. You are already consciousness. You are already Chaitanya. But Swami Vivekananda put it this way: all that we can do is polish the mirror. So we are polishing the mirror. When you first started, you asked the question, you just made a remark, I'm trying to understand what consciousness is. The answer is never try to do that. Because when I say trying to understand what consciousness is, how do we try to understand something? By making it the object of our investigations. I'm trying to understand what this is. I look at it, I touch it, I taste it, smell it, and then I think about it. I gather data with all sense organs, then I think about it, I read about it. But consciousness, you cannot do that, because consciousness is the one which is doing all this. It can never be made an object. Then what do you do? What is done in Vedanta? The first thing is neti neti. I know that I am consciousness in the sense that I am not any of these things. I am that which is revealing all these things. By the very fact that I am having experiences, I know I am consciousness. Trying to know what consciousness is or understand what consciousness is like trying to see your own eyes. You cannot. At the most, you can reflect it in a mirror, or you can take a selfie of your own face. You can see the eyes indirectly in a reflection or in the selfie. You can read about it. You can use pointers in Vedanta to point back to yourself. But then the really knowing consciousness is you by being. You are consciousness, and you realize, I am that. For these, yogic practices are very helpful. They are basically polishing the mirror. Who was raising the hand here? Yes. I'll come to you last.
My name is Pasha. This question is from the non-Vedanta community. My question is, we think Brahman and Shakti together with Vidya. So it is like saying and seeing the rope as a snake. So the snake doesn't exist, everything has been planted. Same to me is like you throw a light which illumines a dark room. It will show only the objects that are present, and something is not present, it's not going to illuminate.
Right.
That's the confusion.
Correct. So the question, I'll repeat the question. Now please sit. The question is a good question. I'll just extract the essence out of it and tell me if I'm getting it right. She's saying, imagine there's a dark room and the light is switched on. Then whatever is there in that room will be revealed. But what is not there in the room will not be revealed. Light cannot reveal a non-existent thing. Similarly, I am consciousness. We were studying Kshetragya, knower of the field. So when I'm conscious, I'm aware of things. Now we are saying Jagat Mithya, like the rope is appearing as a snake. The snake is not there at all. If I am consciousness like a light will reveal things which are there. How will it reveal things which are not there? This is the question. If Jagat is Mithya, then Jagat is not there. Then how is consciousness revealing a Jagat? Because we are seeing a Jagat. If it's like light and the object. Is the question clear? Light will reveal existing objects. Light will not reveal non-existent. So those who are here, they are revealed by this light. Those who did not come, they cannot be revealed by this light because they are not here. Similarly, consciousness is revealing this world, which means the world must be existing. Then only consciousness reveals it. You are saying the world is mithya. Then how can a mithya world be, mithya means false, non-existing. How can a non-existing world be revealed by consciousness? All right. The answer here will be, remember what the opponent said to Shankaracharya yesterday? Na samadrishtantaha, the stump and the person example. This is not a good example. Light and the room example is not a good example here. Why not? Because that is an example for Sankhya. Sankhya philosophy, which says consciousness is one reality and universe, Prakriti, is another reality. Consciousness reveals the Prakriti. And Prakriti exists. Universe exists. All these things exist and they are revealed by you, the consciousness. Dark room, light, and existing objects example exactly matches that. Their consciousness is separate from these objects. When these objects come into consciousness, you experience it. This is Purusha Prakriti. In Sankhya, everything that we experience in life is a combination of Purusha and Prakriti, consciousness and matter. Chit, Jada. But na samadrishtanta, this is not the correct example for Advaita Vedanta. What Advaita Vedanta says is consciousness reveals the objects. What is the relationship between these objects and consciousness? Are they really something existing apart from consciousness? If objects exist apart from consciousness, how would you know? Advaitin says, notice one thing. Objects are always and by definition experienced only in consciousness. They can never be known. To know anything, you need consciousness. So if objects exist outside consciousness, beyond consciousness, they can never be known. Why talk about something that cannot be known in principle? Objects always appear, by definition, they have to appear in consciousness. So if two things always appear together and they cannot be separated, then they must be somehow same. For example, this glass and this bowl are separate. They are appearing together, but they are separate. How do you know they are separate? You can experience them separately. Here, bowl without glass. Here, glass without bowl. So they are two separate entities, though they are appearing together. But this table, and if it's made of wood, yes, it's made of wood. The wood and the table, I'm using two words, table, wood, but you can never separate them. The table can never be separated from the wood. If you separate the table from the wood will disappear. Wood can exist without the table. Wood was a log of wood earlier. Later on, it will be splinters of wood or whatever. And now it is appearing as a table. So the table cannot exist, cannot be experienced apart from the wood. It means the table is nothing apart from the wood. This table, if I touch the table, I'm touching the wood. That's why when we touch, we say touch wood. We don't say touch table. Touch wood. When you touch the table, you're touching the wood. When you weigh the table, you're weighing the wood. So wood and table are actually one reality. It appears with the name table, with the form table, and that they use nama, rupa, vyavahara. These are maya. The reality here is wood. Similarly, consciousness is the reality, and this entire world of objects is an appearance in consciousness. By Maya, it is given name, form, and use. But in substance, if you say, what is it made of? It's consciousness only. Another way of, I'll give you one example and see if it works. Consider your dreams. In your dreams, you see so many things. Now, all those things and the one who's seeing them, are they two separate things? Do those things you see in the dream, I'm eating a pizza in the dream. Now I'm going to put the pizza in the fridge and wake up. Tomorrow I'll dream again, take it out of the fridge and eat it. No, fridge, pizza, even the eater of the pizza, all will disappear the moment I wake up. What will it become? The dreaming mind. The mind will wake up. So though it appeared different, I am different, here the pizza is different, but both are actually the dreamer's mind in the dream. There you see the light and dark room thing will not apply. In the dark room, light is not producing the objects. Objects are already there, light is just revealing it. But in your dream, the dreamer's mind is not revealing an already existing world. It is producing the world itself. Producing means not really producing, imagining. And the Advaitin claim is, whatever we experience in this, if you consider it carefully, you will see it's not a pre-existing reality revealed by consciousness. It is consciousness itself appearing to itself as its own object, like a dream. That's why it's called mithya. Mithya is not non-existent. Make three categories. Ultimate reality, Brahman, always existent. Not existent at all, square, circle. Not existent at all, doesn't exist. In between is, does not exist but appears to exist, like dreams, cinema, snake rope. This in between does not really exist like Brahman, but also we experience it. It's not totally non-existent. This is called mithya, anirvachanya. It's like a projection, like a dream, like a movie, like fiction. Fiction is not non-existent. There's always, if you ask, which school did Harry Potter go to? One answer could be, there is no Harry Potter, no question of going to school, all that is nonsense. But that's not the correct answer. The correct answer is Harry Potter, in the fictional world of Harry Potter, went to Hogwarts School of Magic. And yes, Hogwarts School, Harry Potter, going to the School of Magic, the whole thing is fiction. It's appearing, but it's not totally non-existent. Yes.
On that would be, so for if consciousness shines on an object, you get an experience. So the object need not be present one time, even in the japa. In the dream state, I understand none of the objects exist, it's just my mind viewing it.
Yes.
But in the japa state, this steps to looks real. But what I need to understand is it need not exist for me to have an experience.
There must be some presentation. There must be something appearing. It may not be really existing, but at least something must appear as an object. Then only experience is possible. In the pure light of consciousness, there will not be any objective experience. You don't need a real object for an experience, but the appearance of the object is necessary for experience.
Correct. So that's why when say an enlightened master is walking in the jungle first, he obviously wants a stone. But in his experience, he is not experiencing the stone, or
he is experiencing everything. See, enlightenment is not a crippling condition. It's not that I'm enlightened. Now my eyes don't work, my brain doesn't work, my tummy doesn't work because I've become enlightened. No. Exactly as we live, the enlightened person also will live. Will also experience the world. But the knowledge, the understanding is completely different. We had this discussion in a class on Tibetan Buddhism. So there are old texts which says the Buddha does not see anything, hear anything, smell anything, taste anything, does not think anything, remember anything. So the teacher was saying, he called this brainstem Buddha. Buddha is reduced to comatose state, brainstem. So enlightenment will lead you to deep coma. complete irreversible brain damage. Is that enlightenment? No. There's a deeper reason. Why do the texts say something? And there are other texts which say Buddha is omniscient, knows everything. So what is the truth? When you become Buddha, do you know nothing or do you know everything? See, you have to understand what is meant there. Please sit. The Buddha, being enlightened, does not have any false knowledge like us. What do we think? I am this fellow. I'm sitting on the chair. Here is a table. Here is a glass of water. Here are people before me. This is my idea. This is what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing, tasting, touching. This is reality. Once I'm enlightened, I will realize I am the awareness in which all of this is appearing. There is not really a chair or a person or a table, but it's all appearing exactly like this. You can see it, hear it, smell it, taste it, touch it. Like a movie. One sadhu, I still remember, he's sitting in Gangotri, I'm sitting in front of him at his feet, he's saying, "To Mahatma ji, ye sab dikhta hai kuch nahi." From the highest perspective, from the perspective of consciousness, this is true. It's all appearances in consciousness. But practically, is the person seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, talking? Certainly. If he sees a stone, will he avoid it? Yes. Notice when you say seeing a stone, I, the consciousness in this body, I'm seeing a stone there. That stone is as real as this body. If I don't avoid it, what will happen? This foot will get cut. What will happen then? Then there will be pain. For me, it is all the same in consciousness. A child is playing video games and is driving a car in a video game, and there is a hole in front. Will you avoid the hole or not? What will the child do? He'll avoid, skillfully avoid. But if you say, "Why are you avoiding? There is no hole, there is no car," go and fall in the hole. And say, "Oh, you don't know how to play the game." The Jivan Mukta knows how to play the game. But for the Jivan Mukta, it's a game. Game means it's an appearance. And he's not trapped by it, limited by it. We are trapped in it. That's why it becomes like a nightmare for us. But exactly as we see the world, literally, eyes will function, ears will function, tongue will function. Sri Ramakrishna, before becoming enlightened, he liked jalebi. After becoming enlightened, he also liked jalebi. Same thing will continue. It's like being in a virtual world, for example. Yes, we'll take it afterwards, that question. So you ask the question.
So my question deals with something else, which is bhakti, which Sri Ramakrishna is talking about. And if we are following the path of bhakti, there are some things we have been told we should do, the japa, the prayer, etc. But it seems that there are ways to do japa, prayer, etc., that the attitude is really important. So because, otherwise we're doing it, but as it were, nothing is happening. Can you talk a little bit about it?
Yes. So when we take up a particular practice, sadhana, there are many things to be learned about it. So, for example, quality of japa is more important than quantity of japa. So many little things have to be learned about it. The main thing is the quality of japa is more important than the quantity. If quality is not coming, then quantity also is all right. You have to hold on to the quantity. I'm not feeling the mood for devotion, and then I will not do japa. No, don't do that. Don't let sadhana depend on mood. That's one thing to learn. So many things are told. For example, Swami Brahmananda initiated a monk and told him, every day finish 10,000 japa before you go to sleep. 10,000 japa. If at any time you miss one, you miss the count, was it 3,225 or 3,224? Begin from the beginning. So he used to do that. He was in mother's house when Ma Sharda was there, Mayarbari. And he would often be late for food because he was trying to finish it. And the cook and the others, they complained. And then finally mother called him and said, "What's wrong? Why don't you come for food on time? Your others are getting delayed because of you. Somebody has to wait. And everybody eats and goes up. Somebody has to wait with your food." He said, Swami Brahmananda Maharaj, he told me he's my guru. He told me to repeat the mantra 10,000 times. And he said, if you miss it, a demon will come and eat up the results of your japa if you don't complete. the japa 10,000 and properly. And if you miss it once, start from the beginning. And he was very sincere. Often at 9,900 something, he missed once and he started from the beginning again. So when she heard this, mashallah, burst out laughing. She said, "Is this what Rakhal told you?" I said, "Yes." And she said, "It's because in order to make you sincere, he has told you this. Don't worry, I am telling you. You complete your japa and come and eat on time. If afterwards you can complete it also." And who is saying this? Ma Sharada, who is to complete more than 1 lakh japa every day. How is that possible? We also don't know. Plus, she would do so much work. So attitude is important. And there's so many little things to be learned. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yes, Swamiji. So the follow-up question is, how do we improve our...
There, let me just give you a hint. Meditation and spiritual life, there's a very wonderful book, Swami Yatishwarananda. I think there are 2 chapters on japa with a lot of specific hints. Many things are there, many little instructions about how to do japa more effectively. Meditation and spiritual life, the chapter on japa. Also, there's another collection, Seeing God Everywhere by Swami Shraddhananda. Swami Shraddhananda, who was in Sacramento. He is somebody who is to do japa continuously. He has mastered japa. And so his insights are collected in that book. If you see, there are 3 chapters on japa. I have found things in them which are nowhere. Seeing God Everywhere, Swami Shraddhananda. Seeing God Everywhere, Swami Shraddhananda. 3 chapters on japa. In between, many chapters are there. In between, 3 chapters are on japa. And there are so many things there which we don't find anywhere. Clearly, they're coming out of his own experience. It's there in the bookshop, Seeing God Everywhere. And one more, a Christian book, the Way of the Pilgrim. Not Pilgrim's Progress and John Bunyan, not that one. Way of the Pilgrim. It's an Eastern Orthodox Church book. So there, it's very moving. Small book. A young man is initiated into repeating a Jesus prayer, just like a mantra. The way we do it, they also do it that way. Repeating, Lord Jesus, have mercy upon me. That's all. Lord Jesus, have mercy upon me. And then his adventures in life. But continuously he's repeating that like a mantra. Those who do mantra japa will find that it's a Christian book, Eastern Russian Orthodox Church book. You will find it very inspiring, how that one man holds on to that mantra. I'll end with we've gone too far, but one story I'm reminded of, I'll end with that story. That heart is most important, not the technique. With full devotion, when I say full devotion, again, it seems imposing conditions. With whatever devotion we have, whatever love we have, we just hold on to the name. That will work. That will give results. So the story is, I think it's Tolstoy's story. The 3 wise men, 3 old men, the hermits. Have you read the story? So a bishop, a great bishop of the Eastern Orthodox Church is going on a ship, sailing ship in those days. And they're going past, the captain is very happy that such a distinguished bishop is there in our ship. And then he tells the bishop, we are going past an island. There are 3 old hermits there. They're passing their days in prayer. Do you want to stop and we will go to the island? They'll be very happy to meet you, Your Eminence. They'll be so delighted that such a great person has come. Bishop said, yes, I'm always willing to help people who are doing spiritual practices. So they stop the ship and he goes in a boat and he goes on the island. Then 3 old men, nice description is there. One has a long beard, the second one is longer beard, and the oldest one is longest beard. And they're all in rags. They come and they fall at his feet. The captain introduces, you know who has come? He's the bishop of the church. Ask him whatever question you have to ask. Then the bishop asks them, what practice are you doing? Some very simple prayer they are repeating. The bishop smiled and said, no, nobody has taught you how to pray to Lord Jesus. Let me teach you. And he teaches them the Lord's Prayer. And it was a hard work because they're so happy that at last we have got the right teaching from bishop, no less. And the bishop blessed them. And they were so grateful. They were on their knees at the feet of the bishop. Then the bishop said, we have to go now. And then they went on the ship And the ship sailed away. And as far he could see, so on the island, those three old men were there. They were repeating the prayer which he had taught them and looking at them as the ship sailed away. Now at night, ship is sailing. And suddenly he hears hammering on the door. The captain is terrified, he's shaking. Your Holy Father, please come on the deck of the ship. What happened? No, come and see. And so he went up to the deck. It's night, full moon night, and all the sailors are standing on the deck and looking. And he's stunned to see the moonlight falling on the ocean waves. And across the waves, those three old men are running across the waves on water towards the ship. Stop, stop. The ship has stopped and everybody's scared. They're making the cross sign. What's going on? And the three old men, they come near the ship and they climb up on top of the ship. And they run across the ocean. And they come and they fall at the feet. And the Holy Father himself is a little scared. The three old men, they say, we are foolish. Please forgive us. You taught us with great care the prayer. We are forgetting the prayer again. Please teach us again. The Holy Father said, you don't need any teaching from. Please pray for us and bless all of us. And I am sorry that I see. And then they said, all right. Then they went back, walked back across the ocean to their island. Now see, the heart is most important. This little prayer, this little mantra given by the Guru. Tapasyanji used to say that when you have been given the mantra, you have been given God in a seed form. Now you cultivate it and you will realize. It's amogha. It is powerful. If you don't do anything also, it will work and other lives it will take root. But it's better to work at it now and get the fruits of it. So I pray to Thakur Mayan Swamiji to bless all of us. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanam.